Hello and welcome to an Envato Tuts Plus course. I'm Purdila, and in this course, you'll learn how to build a Shopify store without having to write a single line of code. Shopify is a very powerful and accessible e-commerce platform. With it, you have all the tools you need to get an online store up and running in no time. And in this course, I'm going to walk you through all the steps necessary to do just that. Here's what you'll learn. In the first chapter, we'll start by preparing our store name, logo, and some product information. In lesson 2, we'll sign up with Shopify and create our store. In lesson 3, we'll adjust some store settings like standards and formats, currency, address, and payments. Then in lesson 4, we'll add our first products. Since we have products, we can now create collections with them, and that's exactly what we'll do in lesson 5. Now, in the second chapter, we'll start customizing our store by installing a new theme. That's in lesson 6. In lesson 7, we'll be editing that theme to get everything just the way we want it. In lesson 8, we'll add some new pages and blog posts. Then, in lesson 9, we'll update the navigation so that it reflects our new page structure. Lesson 10 is about theme languages. I'll show you how to add new ones and also edit the current language. Then in the final lesson, I'll show you how to add a custom domain so that the store is hosted on your own website instead of the Shopify domain. All right, we have a lot to go through, so let's kick things off with the first lesson, where we'll do a bit of preparation before creating our store. See you there. Welcome to the first lesson of this course. Now, before we create our store, we need to plan it. This will make things much easier for us in the long run because it will allow us to know exactly what menu structure we need, what kind of products we'll be selling, and so on. Now, for this course, I'll be doing a demo store with just a handful of products. So this process will not take a very long time, but the actual process can be scaled for any size store you might be making. So let's begin. So for this, I'm gonna open up a simple text document. You can write this wherever you want. You can even use a physical notebook. But the idea is to have somewhere to write down these ideas, like bullet points of what you're trying to make. So in my case, I'll be making a online store that sells watches. The name of my online store is going to be called Adi's Watch Shop. Very original. And for the page structure, well, I'm probably going to have like a home, a catalog or products, and then maybe an about us and a contact page. Now, what about the products? Well, for my demo, here's what I'm going to use. I went ahead and opened Envato Elements and under 3D category, search for watch, and it gave me these results. And I'm going to use a lot of these images as my product images because obviously this is just a demo store. But in your own store, make sure you have all of the product images prepared beforehand. It's just going to make things much easier for you. Also, you're going to need images besides your product images, right? So to give you an example, for my store, for my demo store, I went ahead and I went to burst.shopify.com. They have a nice selection of business ideas here. And I grabbed a collection that's called Sell Watches Online. And they just have these stock photos that I'm going to use. And by the way, Burst is a service offered by Shopify, where you can download these free stock photos. So I went ahead and downloaded those, but I also got a bunch of images from Envato Elements, and you'll find links to those images in the lesson notes. Now, obviously, for your project, you might be using real images, which is what I recommend. If not, stock images are also an option. And you can find a lot of websites that sell stock images. But chances are, if you're watching this course, you already have access to Envato Elements. So you can just go here under Photos, and you can find a bunch of photos here as well. And you can download them free of charge if you have a Elements subscription. Now, for my store, I'm just gonna wing it when it comes to product names and description. I'm probably just gonna grab the names from these images, but in your own store, obviously you would name your products accordingly. So that covers the product imagery and also the stock imagery that we're gonna use. Now, the last thing that we need to do here is create our logo. Now, for the logo, obviously, if you have a business already, then you have your brand identity all set up. So you're going to use your own logo. But if you don't have one, you could go to hatchful.shopify.com. This is, again, another free service offered by Shopify. And with it, you can create logos. So let's go ahead and get started. You would select your business space first. In my case, it's probably, let's see, under fashion. So you just hit next. Then you would choose your visual style. Since we're going with wristwatches, we'll probably go with either classic or elegant. You can actually select more options. Let's also choose conservative, maybe vintage. And we'll hit next. Business name is going to be called Adi's Watch Shop. If you have a slogan, you would put it in here. Next. Where will the logo be used? It's going to be on the online store, but also on social media. And who knows, maybe at some point you want to expand your business and you're going to be using it in print and on business card. So let's hit next. And then Shopify will give you this big list of suggestions for your logo, and you can just scroll down until you find the one that you like. But I'm probably gonna pick this one. I think it works well. So I'm gonna click this, and then next, download logo. And here it's gonna ask us to create an account to download our logo files. But we'll actually do that in the next lesson. For now, I'm just gonna leave this tab opened, and we'll come back to it after we'll create an account. So, for this stage, for my store, this is the only planning that I'm gonna do. For your store, because obviously it's a real one, you got to do a lot more than this. But the process is exactly the same. You gotta make sure you have all your products prepared, all your product imagery, the product descriptions, and then your business name, of course, your logo, the page structure, and all of the other imagery that you might want to use. All right, now that we've planned our store, we can go ahead and create it. That's coming up in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll sign up with Shopify and create our store. This is a very simple process, so let's begin. To sign up, you would go to shopify.com, and you can start by either entering your email address here and clicking this button, or clicking this button and filling in the information here. So we're going to use this method. For the email address, I'm just going to make or use an email address that I've created specifically for this course. And then you would set your password, and then you would input your store name, which in my case is Adi's Watch Shop. Let's see if it's available, and it is. And by doing this, you're automatically starting a free 90-day trial with Shopify. Now, I just want to mention that when you're watching this course, you might find a different trial period. This course is recorded in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So a lot of businesses extended support for their customers, and Shopify did the same thing by extending the free trial period to 90 days. I believe by default, it was about 14 days. I might be wrong about that, but it was much, much lower than 90 days. So it is possible that when you're watching this course, this trial period might be different for you. With that said, we're going to hit Create Store. And now Shopify will take us to Adi's watchshop.myshopify.com. And it's going to take us through a small wizard that will allow us to set up our store. There seems to be a small glitch here. Okay, with the text. So tell us a bit about yourself. Are you already selling? Right now, I'm not selling products yet. In fact, for this demo, I'm just gonna select I'm just playing around. Then what's your current revenue? Right now, I'm just getting started. Which industry will you be operating in? Let's just say clothing. I believe that's where, or actually no, jewelry in my case, because I'm selling wristwatches. And then I'm going to hit next. Let's add an address so you can get paid. So I'm going to add my own information here. Address, I'm just going to say Romania. It doesn't really matter at this point, but in your case, you would put in your actual address. And obviously, the other information should be accurate as well. And I'm just going to hit enter my store, and we're in. It says my trial just started. And now I'm inside my store. I am seeing my backend or my administration interface. And if you see on the sidebar where it says online store, you can click this eye icon, and it's going to take you to the actual front end, or the store that your visitors will see. Obviously, this is just a default. We're going to work on this in the upcoming lessons. Now, before we wrap up this lesson, I promised I would go back to this page where we created our logos. So let's actually sign up with the same email address that we did previously. That we used previously. So let's sign up. And now the logo maker is going to generate our logos, and it's going to allow us to download them in just a little bit. All right. So the logo package and design files have been sent to my email address. So let's do a quick check here. Probably takes a little bit until we get the email. And there it is. Let's go ahead and download these and see what we have. And we have a lot of assets, actually. We have Facebook cover. Nice. Another cover. Profile image. Fav icon. Instagram. LinkedIn banners. That's pretty cool. We have a transparent logo as a PNG. We also have a PNG with a white background. Pinterest, Twitter. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So this service basically gives you all the assets you need for that particular logo in the correct format and in the correct size as well. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is copy all of these. I have a folder here with all of my assets. I'm just going to call it brand. Paste these in. And in here, I also have some PNG files that I downloaded from Elements. I showed you these in the previous lesson. These are just for demo product images that I'll be using. And also, I have a folder with stock photos downloaded from both Shopify stock photo service, which is called Burst. And you can see here. Also, I have a lot of photos downloaded from Envato Elements. And I searched for photos that featured wristwatches. So we'll see which one of these we'll be using. I'm probably not going to be using all of them, but I just wanted a lot of options to play around with. All right, so with that said, our store is now created. We have access to the admin interface. We can see a preview of it here. We can move on. Now, in the next lesson, we'll handle some initial store settings like currency, address, formats, and so on. So I'll see you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll adjust a few store settings, and this will make the process of building our store a little bit easier, and it will give us a glimpse at the end product. So let's begin. To adjust these settings, you will need to go to the admin interface, and all the way down here in the left sidebar, click Settings, and then let's start in General. Here, you'll find the store details that we set initially, like the store name, the contact, and the customer email, and then the store address. So this needs to be filled in with the legal information or your legal business information. And I strongly encourage you to do this before you start doing anything else. Select the time zone. Mine is set to Bucharest. It's the capital of my country. And then select your unit system. So are you using metric or imperial? So imperial deals in pounds and ounces. Metric deals in kilograms and grams. In my case, I'm going to select metric and I'm going to be using grams. Then you will need to set your store currency. Because I'm based in Romania, this is my currency. But obviously, if you're based somewhere else, you would choose the currency that is relevant to your country. So with these changes, I'm going to hit save and I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up payments. Here, you basically specify how you want to receive payments. And depending on your country of origin, you will have different options. For example, in my country, PayPal Express Checkout is available. So I can go ahead and activate that. And that's going to take you to PayPal. And using your PayPal email address, you're going to sign up or you're going to sign in here. And you're basically linking your PayPal account to your Shopify account. If you're not using PayPal, you can select a third-party provider. And you can click here and you can choose the one that you want and also the one that is available in your country. Because as you can see, these, for example, they say unavailable in your country, but these ones are available. So you can choose any of them. Let's say I want to check out. Okay, it's going to tell you a little information about the service and also all the steps required to activate this. And you can also choose which payment methods you want to accept: Visa, MasterCard, and so on. And once you have everything set up, you just hit activate to checkout and you're good to go. Now, in addition to that, you can also select alternative payment methods. And these include options like BitPay, ePay, and so on. You can also choose manual payment methods. And these include bank deposit, money order, or cash on delivery. And you can set up the details here, payment instructions, and then you can hit activate. And then you also have the option to select either an automatic or a manual capture of payment for orders. It really depends on how you want to set up your shop. So those are the settings that I recommend you tackle first before you do anything else to your shop. Obviously, there are a lot more settings, but we're not going to go through all of them. It's kind of beyond the scope of this course, but obviously you will need to for your own shop. So again, to access these, once you're in here, go to Settings, bottom left corner of your admin interface, and you would then go through all of these categories and set your shop just the way you want it. All right, now that the store is created and some of the initial settings are taken care of, it's time to add our products. We'll do that in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll be adding some products to our store, and I'll show you 2 ways you can do that. Let's begin. Now, there are 2 ways you can add products in your Shopify store, manually and with third-party apps. Let's cover manually first. In your backend, you would go to Products, and here you will obviously see a list if you have any products added. In our case, we're starting with a blank store, so we don't have any kind of products. So let's go ahead and add one by clicking this button. We need to give it a title. So for this demo, I'm going to be using some of the 3D watches that I got from Envato Elements, and we're going to be adding this one, diving watch. So you would write the title of your product here. You would be giving it a description. And for this, I'm just going to paste a random description for a wristwatch that I got off of the internet. Obviously, you would add a proper description here for your products. And then for media, I'm going to either click this button to add an image, or I can simply click and drag. And let me actually close this. One quick note here while this is uploading. These images are untouched. So the way I got them from Envato Elements is the way I'm uploading them here. And notice they are pretty big in size. So what I recommend before you do this step is you resize your images. If you're using Mac OS, it's actually very simple. You just open this with the Preview app. You go to Tools, Adjust Size. Currently, you can see that the size is 2048 and at a very high resolution, but you can resize this to a custom size, or you can make it fit within a certain amount of pixels. And then it's gonna result in 62.5% less image size. So you go from 5.8 megabytes to 2.6 megabytes. So it's a much smaller size, and you can go even lower than this. There are a lot of online resources for optimizing these images. But once you do that, you would go ahead and upload that media right here. And you can add multiple images. You're not limited to just one of them. Now, for pricing, you would set your price in your selected currency. And then in this field, you can enter the original price in case you want to do a discount. So if I'm going to enter 190 here and 145 here, this will be the discounted price. This will be the original price. And then inventory information. So here you can use SKUs or stock keeping units or barcodes to keep track of your inventory. So for this particular watch, the SKU could be, I don't know, something like watch for men 01 or something like that. And here you can specify the quantity that you have available, let's say 10. Okay, this is a physical product, so you would ship it. How much does it weigh? Maybe, I don't know, 100 grams. Then you would specify the country of origin. And then this really depends on your product. There is a HS or harmonized system code for the different types of products you can ship abroad. So you would search that code for those products and you would enter it here. Now, if this product has multiple options like different sizes or colors, you would check this box and you would specify the option here, right? So for example, size, let's say we have a 34 millimeter. We have a 45 millimeter. Let's say those are two sizes that I have available. And then you can also specify different prices for these. And then once you do this, you hit save, and you now have one product added. If you go back to products, you will see the list is now populated. It tells you the inventory and also the vendor here. So now if you open up your online store and you go to catalog, you'll see your product right here with the discounted price. It also has a tag of sale. And if you open it, you're going to see the two options that we set and also the description. Pretty cool. And you can hover over the image to see a bigger version. So that's the manual way of adding a product into your Shopify store. I mentioned there is another way, which is using a third-party app. So let me show you that right now. This manual approach works best when you have or when you're selling your own products. But when you want to sell other people's products, that's when you can use a third-party app like Oberlo. So to find it, you would go to Apps, and Oberlo is actually the first one here, dropshipping app. You click that, and that's going to open up the Shopify app store. You hit Add App. You are basically installing this app. So hit this button. So now this takes us to a step-by-step wizard that allows us to, connect our shop with Oberlo. So first step is done. Then step number 2, let's add products. So we'll click this bit and we're going to search for watch. And here you can find a list of all the products that match your search criteria, which is watch in our case, that are sold by people all around the world. So what you do is you find the products that you want to add to your shop, you hover over them, you hit add to import list. So let's get this, let's get this, maybe this, maybe this, and this. I think for now, that's all right. So once you do that, you would go to import list right here, and you'll find all the products that you imported. And notice, by importing a product, you get its title, all the images, the seller, the description, everything, basically. So what you do is you select the products that you want to import, and you hit import all to store. Hit yes. And now all of your products are imported into your Shopify store. So then you would go back here, and if you would do a refresh under products, actually, you will see that besides your diving watch, the one that we added previously, we now have all the products that we imported with Oberlo. So let's open one of these. You can see the title. You can always change this to whatever you want right here. You can change the description. Here you can see all the photos that were imported alongside, and you can see all the variants right here. And you can change the prices. You can change the quantity. It even imported the SKUs. So once you're done with the changes, well, if you would make any changes, you would hit save. And then if you go back to your catalog on the front end, you would see all your products here. That's pretty cool, right? Very useful when you're selling other people's products, as I was saying. But if you're selling your own products, then you're probably better off just manually adding them to the store. All right, we now have some products in our store, but they're not organized. One way we can do that is with collections, and we'll learn more about those in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll be creating some collections, and these will give us a very straightforward way of organizing our products. So let's begin. Now, there are two ways of organizing products in your Shopify store. The first way is with collections, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But before we do that, I want to show you the second way, and that's by defining a product type. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna open up this product, and right here under organization, I see product type. So if you have any types defined, they will show up in a drop-down list. If you don't, you can define them yourself by simply typing. So let's say watches for women. Okay, and I can add watches for women as a product type. So now let's save this, and I'm going to go back to my products. And as you can see here, now the type says watches for women, but I can open this and I can say watches for men. So I'm going to save that. Okay, and now we have two types defined: watches for men, watches for women. So now if I open this diving watch and I need to set a product type, I can select from my available options. So that's one way of organizing your products. The second way, which is a lot more powerful, is with collections. So collections, you can find them right here under the main products category. Click that, and let's go ahead and create our own collection. Click that button. Let's give it a title. Let's say watches for men. I can give this a optional description, and I can specify the collection type. All right, so is it a manual collection? That means I'm going to add products to this collection one by one, or is it automated? So if it's automated, there are certain conditions that products need to meet in order to be automatically added to the collection. Let's say manual for now. Then I can specify a collection image. So let's add one here. Let's actually select a stock photo that I downloaded. Let's see if we can find a nice one from Envato Elements. I think I quite like the second one. So we're going to use that. Simply drop it. The same thing applies with the image size. I told you about this in the previous lesson. Just make sure you resize it first and don't upload a 10 megabyte image. And actually, I'm going to open this in the preview and adjust its size a little bit because it's just too big right now. So let's make this like 1000 by 667, and that's going to reduce its size tremendously. So hit OK and go ahead and save it. So now I can grab this, upload it, and once that's done, go ahead and hit save, and your collection is now saved. So what you can do from here is you can start searching for products, and you can add them to this collection. Here's how you do that. You hit browse and you select the products that you want and then hit add. And alternatively, you can go to all products. You would find the product that you want to add to the collection. And right here under organization, you will see the existing collections, and you would just hit the one that you want to add it to. But this product, we're actually going to create another collection for it. So let's go back to collections and create a new one. I'm going to call this watches for women. And this time I'm going to set its collection type to automated. Okay. So what about the conditions? Well, products must match, let's say, any of these conditions. And let's say the product title contains woman, women or woman. And I think this is actually just separate conditions. So let's do that. All right. So let's go ahead and save this. And Shopify automatically added in this collection all the products whose title contained women in this case. So we have this, and the rest of them. So that's pretty cool. So now we can see these collections in the online store. You just click this little link here. And there you go, watches for women. And it shows us all the products in that collection. All right, and that's how you can add and manage collections. Now, the hard part of this process is done. We've created the store, added products, and categorized them. However, we're still using the default theme, and that's not really what we want. There are so many free and premium themes we can choose from, and I'll show you how to get one of these and apply it to the store in the next lesson. So I'll see you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we're going to download and apply a custom theme for our Shopify store. So let's begin. So far, we've been using the default theme that comes with any new shop created or store created with Shopify. But there are so many free and premium themes out there that we can grab and install, and that's gonna give us a much better looking store. So let's see how we can install some of those. You go to Online Store in the backend, you click this, and under Themes, you will see our current theme is called Debut, and you can also see a preview. And then we also have the theme library. And here you can explore some free themes, or you can visit the theme store. So let's go ahead and do that to see what's available. And by the way, you can also find free themes here. So you will go to Industries, you would choose the one that's right for you. In my case, it's jewelry and accessories. And here you can browse for free themes or paid. And because we see nice previews here, we can quickly find the one that we're looking for. So in my case, this one could be a good fit for me because it's selling or it's showcasing the same products that I'm selling in my store. What else? Maybe this one, Supply. This is a free theme. Then we have Alchemy, which seems to also be about watches. So let's actually take a look at this one. We have two styles included. One is blue. This is showcasing different products, but obviously you can use any theme here to sell your products regardless of what it's showing in the preview. This is just a suggestion, really. So we can actually view a demo of this. We can see a nice preview here, both on desktop and on mobile devices. And if you're happy with this, you can click Start with this theme. Okay, you would need to log into your Shopify store. So let's go ahead and do that. And actually, sorry, I didn't write that correctly. So you need to write it like this. You would just need to copy this little bit here. Just leave out the HTTPS. So hit login, hit add theme. And now this takes you back to the admin interface. It's showing you that it's adding that theme to your theme library. And now that's added. You can preview it and you can publish it. So let's actually hit publish. So now if we go back to the front end, we can see that our shop or our store now looks totally different. The content is exactly the same, but the appearance is totally different. So that's how you can add a free theme from the theme store, the Shopify theme store. But what if it's not a free theme and instead it's a paid theme? Well, obviously at some point you will need to buy it, right? But Shopify has a very cool thing that's called theme trial. So let's say you find a theme that you like. In my case, maybe this one, which is $180. So with the style selected, I can hit try theme, and that allows me to use that theme. Let's log in again. So that allows me to use that theme in a trial mode, basically. Eventually, at some point, I will have to buy it, but for now, I can try it out, see if it's a good fit, which is something very, very cool. All right. So now this is my my shop, my store with this new theme. And as you can see, it's a completely different look than what we previously had. Now, for this course, we're not going to use this theme or the one previously. Instead, we're going to use this one. It's called Swiss Eagle. You can find it on Envato Elements. And actually, on Envato Elements, you can find 232 Shopify themes. And if you have an Element subscription, obviously you can download any of these for free. So I went ahead and downloaded Swiss Eagle, and I have it right here. You get a zip file. You just unzip that, and this is the content of that zip file. For this particular theme, install.zip is the one file you're interested in. So to install Swiss Eagle, which by the way looks something like this, it's a very nice looking theme. And it's a great fit for what I'm selling. Right? So to install this, you would go back to Shopify under Themes, Upload Theme, choose File. I would open up my theme folder, select install.zip, choose, and then upload file. Now, depending on your internet connection, this might take very little, or it might take a bit longer. In my case, it's taking a bit longer because I'm working with a slower internet connection. And now the theme is uploaded. It's currently being installed. And once that's done, we can go ahead, click Actions, and publish. Go ahead and hit that button, theme published. All right, so now if we go back to our front end, refresh, and we'll see our new theme installed and ready to go. So obviously it's missing all the imagery. It's now replaced with these placeholder images. But we installed it. All we have to do now is edit it. All right, and that's how you can apply a custom theme to your Shopify store. Now, in the majority of cases, you will need to edit this theme because you might not like its colors, typography, layout, and so on. So we'll do the same here in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll be doing some small edits to the theme we installed previously. Let's begin. So obviously when editing a theme, you would go top to bottom, make sure every single detail is just the way you want it. For this lesson, I'm going to show you the process. I'm not going to change a lot of things on this theme. Instead, I'm going to show you exactly how you change the imagery, maybe some colors, the typography, how to remove or add sections, that kind of thing. So to start, you would go to the backend, online store, themes, and then you would go to the current theme and you would hit customize. And this is going to open up a live preview on this side. And here you can also switch from desktop to mobile. And you can also go like full width. And then on the left side, you'll find two tabs, one for sections. So each section that you see here corresponds to a section in the page. And then theme settings is where you can control the colors, typography, and so on. We'll get to that in just a little bit. For now, let's start with the first section, which is the header. So you would click it, and each theme is different in this regard. So each section is different. It's going to have different settings. You won't find two themes that have like exactly the same layout, right? So in our case, the header gives us the option to display search or not. And you can see, as you can see, we have a real-time preview of what that's going to look like. Let's bring that back. Should we display the mini cart? Should we display the wish list? I'm going to take that off for now. Then here's where we add our logo. So let's select our image. Let's upload the logo that we generated previously, this one. And we're going to select that. Here you can change the background and also the text if you have any text in there. And then you have some additional options to change the border line color, the currency block, right? Which is this. You can change its text color. Let's say you want this to be red. It's now red, okay? The color of the text hover, you can change that here. Let's bring this back to whatever it was before. Currency links, you can display those as well. And by the way, this is functional, fully functional. So you can scroll it, you can hover, you can click on elements. It works just fine. And then for all of these blocks that you see here, like the search block, the cart block, you can change colors for each element individually, which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's the header. Let's go ahead and hit save to see if our logo will be correctly updated. And if we go to the front end and do a refresh, we still have that old logo, but it might be a caching issue. The next section is the navigation. Okay, and here you have the option to display a mega menu or not, to show drop-down icons on items with like submenus. And then we have a slider here, revolution slider. And here you can control the slides, the text inside the slides, and also the images. So if we're going to select an image, let's find one from the business starter kit. Like I'm looking for maybe a darker one. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So I'm going to choose this one. All right, you would select that. And now that image will be used as a background for the very first slide. And then you would go to each slide individually, select the image from here. Or if you don't have any images, you can click on free images and you can search for the ones that you like. So let's say this, for example, you can select that. And then you can go ahead and change the heading, the subheading, the description. And once you save that, I'll actually do a refresh in the front page. And there we go. You can see the new image from slide 1. Here's slide number 2. That's pretty cool. So you would just go on section by section and you would edit that section to match your own style. Now, let's say that you want to delete a section, maybe this one right here. So this one is, I believe, this. Yeah. So you can click this little icon to show or hide it. But if you want to delete it completely, you would just open it and hit remove section. And now that's gone. What if you want to add a section? Well, you would go here, add section, and you can find the available sections you can add for this particular theme. Let's say I want some text. You just click that, add, and it looks like this, right? It has a subtitle, a title, and some content. And here for content, you can actually add another section. Let's say I have an image. You can change the alt text, and you can also put a link in here. So once that's done, you hit save. You can go back and you can grab this section by these little 6 dots. You can click and drag and move it wherever you want. In my case, I just moved it like here, for example. So I just moved it below my blog section here. So hit save, and then you would refresh this, and you would see that that new section right here. Obviously, this needs a lot of work. You would need to play around with all the elements here. Make sure you have the right images, the right text, and so on. Now, once you're happy with all of your sections, you can go to theme settings and alter things like colors. Right, so we have a bunch of different categories here for colors, like the logo bar backgrounds, the logo background, the colors that you want to use for buttons. Then for text, the text on the top bar, then the menu bar. So you can simply go to each one, click, select the color that you want, and then hit save. And you're all done. Now, besides colors, you also have access to typography. So what kind of typefaces you want to use. And you also have some options from Google Fonts. And you can change the typefaces for the body, header, other fonts, which are probably applied to different elements. And you can also change the base font size to make the text smaller or bigger, depending on your preference. What else? Under header, this is actually the place where we can upload our custom logo. I made a mistake earlier. So let's go ahead and do that. Brand, let's get the logo PNG. All right, and now the logo is updated, and you can also set a custom logo bar height. And this is this top bar right here. We're just gonna leave it at default. We can also replace our fav icon because that's something we got from the logo generator. You have the option to use a sticky bar or a sticky header. So that's pretty cool. Save. What else? Here, you basically control the options for the slideshow, for the collection pages, the product pages, and so on. So a lot of customization that can be made using this page, either from the sections tab or the theme settings. Go ahead and play around with this until you get the theme to look just the way you want it. All right, and that's how you can edit a Shopify theme. Now, in the next lesson, we'll be adding some new pages and also a new blog post. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll be adding some new pages and blog posts to our Shopify store. Let's begin. To add new pages, you would go to the backend, to the admin interface. You would click Online Store, Pages. Here you will see a list of your existing pages, and if you don't have one, simply click Add Page. Let's give this a title. We're going to call it About Us. And then under templates, this theme comes with 5-page templates. This is the default one. But if we want a contact page or an about page, simply select Page About, set its visibility. So is it hidden for now or is it visible? You can also set a specific publish date. So let's go ahead and hit save. And let's create another one. Go back to Pages, Add Page. Let's call this Contact Us, Page Template, Page Contact, save, and there we go. Here is a live preview of the contact page. And you will see that any content added here will be displayed right here under the map. And of course, this depends from theme to theme. And if you want to see the other page, About, you can just click that link. And this shows us the About page. Of course, what we're missing here are the actual images, because the original About page had a lot of images. So to edit those images, you would go to the customizer here. You would select the page that you want to edit from here. Let's say About. And then you have access to all the sections inside. So you would go to About section, and then you would start using images where you need to. We need another one here, so select that, right? And you would just go on. Very similar to the previous lesson where I showed you how to edit the theme. You just go through each block, you change its heading, its description, its images, until you get to the result you want. And once you're done, you hit save, and now you can see your changes reflected in the front end. Pretty cool. Now, how do you add blog posts? Well, very, very simple. You go back to the backend, online store, blog posts, create blog post. You would give it a title, you would give it the content, you would add an excerpt or a summary here. You set its visibility. You can set a featured image if that's what you want. And you would set up the blog that you want to publish it here. So is it news or is it a different type of blog? You can add tags if that's what you want, and then hit save. And then that's created. And this is a live preview of your blog post. All right. And that's how you can add new pages and blog posts to your Shopify store. Now, these pages are currently not being shown in a menu, so they're kind of hard to access. Let's fix that in the next lesson by setting up our navigation properly. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we'll be updating the main menu so that our store navigation is spot on. This is a very simple process, so let's begin. The main menu is the one displayed right here, and currently we just have Home and Catalog, but we have some additional pages that we want to display here. So to do that, we'll go back to the admin interface, Online Store, Navigation, and you can see that we currently have two menus set up. We have a footer menu, which is displayed in the footer, and we have a main menu, which is displayed right here in this sticky header. So let's click on main menu. As you can see, we just have two items, Home and Catalog. Let's edit catalog because I want it to say products. So let's apply that and let's save the menu. And now if we do a refresh, you'll see that it now says products. But let's add some more pages. You hit add menu item. Let's call this about us. And let's go to pages, about us. It's that simple. Let's add another one, contact us. Again, we go to pages, contact us. Let's add that. You can add even more menu items. For example, you can add links to your various collections. So watches for men. Let's add that. Let's also add watches for women. Let's add that as well. And you can also make these children of other menu items. So in this case, I want these two collections to be under products. So once that's done, save. And when you refresh, you now have a submenu and the proper links for those collections. That's pretty cool. Now, what about that footer menu? Well, currently this just has a search item in here, and it's probably not being displayed on this theme. Let's see, if we go to themes and we hit customize and we go to footer, we can actually import a footer logo. So we can choose to use that. But it doesn't seem to allow us to display a menu here in the footer. So again, this depends from theme to theme. This one chooses to display its navigation just here in the main menu. All right, and that's how you can set up the navigation on a Shopify store. Now, by default, our theme language is set to English. But what if that's not the case for you? Well, Shopify allows us to change the theme language and also add new ones. Let's see how to do that in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this lesson, you'll learn how to add and edit theme languages. This is very useful because not every store will use English as the main language. So let's get to it. To access theme languages, you would need to go to your online store here, themes, and then go to the current theme, actions, and then edit languages. Right here, it opens up our English language. And the way theme languages work in Shopify basically is you get every single bit of text that is displayed on your website, and it's brought into this interface. So for example, here is the title of the 404 page, and here is the, login form submit text for the password page, and so on. So they're nicely organized into categories here. And if you want to change something, like let's say, for example, that we're visiting a page, right, that has breadcrumbs. Let's see, does contact have breadcrumbs? It does. So under breadcrumbs, you see that the home link has the text set to home. But if I'm going to change this to my home, for example, okay, and I hit save, it says translations updated. And if I refresh this, this text gets updated as well. So you can do that for every single page, every single element on your website. It's all here. Now, what if you want to use a different language? Well, you hit this link, change theme language. And as you can see, English is supported in both the checkout and the system and in the theme. But if I'm going to choose Dutch, for example, it tells me that my theme does not contain Dutch translations. What about Bulgarian? It does not. What about Italian? That doesn't exist either. What about Romanian, right? This is my language. So I don't have any Romanian translations, but I can hit save either way, and I can translate it myself. Okay? It tells me this language is incomplete and 200 plus translations are missing, but I can go on each one of these sections and I can translate it myself. So on this 404, for example, I can say 404 and I can type in the Romanian translation of this text. Or here. This is the Romanian translation of this text. And I can do the same for the rest. On the breadcrumbs, for example, this will roughly translate to this. So I can go ahead and save. You'll see that if I refresh my front end, now I will get the translated version. And wherever you see translation missing, well, that's where you know you have to enter that translation. It's really that simple. All right, and that's how you can add and edit theme languages. Now, by default, your new store will be hosted on a Shopify subdomain, but you always have the option of moving it to your own domain, which is actually recommended. I'll show you how to do that in the next lesson. See you there. Welcome back to the course. In this final lesson, you'll learn how to move your store to your own domain. And this is something I recommend you always do because it's much better than hosting it on a Shopify subdomain. So let's see how you can do that. Now, if you notice, the address of my shop is currently audiswatchshop.myshopify.com. But what if you have your own domain? For example, audiswatchshop.com. Well, it's really easy to move to a dedicated domain. If you're on the home page, you'll usually get this message here telling you, hey, you can connect the domain, and you also have an instructional video telling you exactly how you do that. Or you can go to Online Store, Domains, and then if you have a domain, then you would hit Transfer Domain. If you don't have a domain, you can buy one through Shopify. Let's say audiswatchshop.com. Let's see if that's available, and it is. It's $14 a year. You can hit buy, or you can choose a different extension here, like .net, .org, .store, .shop, and you can buy any of these, and you can just connect your new domain with your store. If you have an existing domain, you can hit connect existing domain. You would just enter your domain name here. You would hit next, and you would just follow the instructions. It's really, really that simple. All right. And that's how you can add your own custom domain to the store. Now, I encourage you to go through the rest of the settings that you see here and make sure everything is set properly. And once that's done, you're pretty much ready to go live with your brand new store. With that said, I would like to thank you very much for watching this course. I hope it gave you all the information you need to get started with Shopify. And even though we worked on a demo store in this course, the process is the same for any project. You just need to follow the same steps and you'll be on the right track. I'm Purdila, and until next time, take care.